Thank you for coming. First of all, I'm absolutely flattered that you would want to hear about this project that we've embarked upon. Hopefully you will find it just as interesting as I have found it. I do want to give a couple caveats. We have squeezed 2 orientations into the past week, and so I'm running on E a little bit. I'm kind of sleepwalking at this point, so excuse me if I don't have as much energy as I typically have. And the second caveat is that this is actually the first assessment-based presentation I've ever given. I am in my first year of a doctorate program here, so I'm slowly starting to learn about assessment, but I've never actually formally learned it. So for those of you who have your doctorates or who are more advanced in assessment, you will probably see quite a few holes in what I'm about to tell you, but hopefully you will still think it's just as meaningful with my novice assessment results. Sounds good? Good understanding? Yeah. So with that said, I'm Christy Roth. I'm the Associate Director of Orientation Programs at USC. I've been here for, wow, I think in 2 weeks for exactly 4 years, so didn't know that was going to happen, so I'm excited about that. But USC has been an absolute great place for me, not only because I love what I do, but also because Student Affairs has allowed me to do what I've wanted to give to Student Affairs. So they've really supported me through this project. My supervisor, and really the whole division. So it's really been a great place to kind of bring this project here. So I'm going to talk about our class that we host to inform international students about American culture. This is going to be our presentation agenda. We're going to evolution of the course, which is formally called the United States and American Culture Series. I will kind of talk to you a little bit about the course, what we discussed, a little bit excerpts from the syllabus. I'll go over the different forms of assessment that we've used in the past, and really we're going to focus on 2 of the assessments that we've conducted this past year. I'll give you the strengths and the weaknesses. I am proud to say that there are more strengths than weaknesses, so we are on the right track. We'll do some implications, and hopefully Jade, we will have time at the end for some Q&A and some discussion. So first of all, we're going to do another NYU shout out right now. I stole this from NYU, and I'm very honest about that. And I give NYU all the credit that I could possibly give them. I was a graduate student there. I graduated in 2007. And when I was there, I taught a course through the Steinhardt School of Culture, Education, and Human Development. And this course was a mandatory 0-unit course that all international graduate students had to take in order to graduate. So I got to teach it twice. It was an incredible experience. It was a 6-week course where we really introduced them to more so NYU and New York City, but we definitely dabbled into American culture. So that was really the basis of where this course started. So when I came here in 2007, I definitely realized there were more things we needed to do for our international students, specifically our graduate students who are more disconnected from the rest of the student body and specifically from our American students. So after kind of muddling over it for a year, I hooked up with Becky Peterson from the Office of International Services, and we piloted our first course in 2008. So we used the NYU course, we took that syllabus, we adapted it, we changed it a whole lot, and we made a 9-week course, really more talking about American culture and less about USC and LA. So it was really focused on, let's teach you the values and the traditions of American culture. So our first course, it was 9 weeks. It had about a dozen students, and we will talk about the students later. But it was fantastic. I actually just went to New York and hung out all day with one of my students from that course. So I'm very fond of all of the students that I've gotten to teach. And that one, since it was our first one, was definitely very special to me. In the spring, we looked at our assessment results from the fall, and we realized, you know what, we're not doing enough. Every class we had was really squished for time, so we decided to extend it by 4 weeks. So it was now a 13-week course. The next year, we started gaining some momentum, and we found out that there were some people who would like to participate with us. So we got more instructors, and we actually jumped from 1 section to 5 sections in one academic year. So that was really special that we were able to find all those instructors to teach the course. The following year, we continued our expansion, and we added 2 instructors per course. So we doubled up our instructors, and we added an undergraduate section for the first time. I still don't believe that our undergraduates are as in need of this program as our graduate students, but since we had the staff who were willing to do it, we said, why not? Let's go ahead and make it happen. So that was really great. This year, we are just staying as is. This is our first year we were not doing any type of expansion. I'm really just trying to bulk up on the information that we give them and the quality of what we do. Okay, so about the course. These were the course objectives that we started at the very beginning. So the main purposes of the course are to introduce new, see it still says international or graduate students, to the culture of the U.S. and the regional area. To encourage them to share their culture with classmates while learning about U.S. culture. So we wanted it to be reciprocal. We want to learn about their culture while they're learning about our culture. We wanted to create a safe space. So there are definitely rare where people are able to go into a space and talk openly about what was very scary to them yesterday, or what is brand new and they have no idea how to relate that idea to something that is familiar to them. So we wanted to make sure that we created a space where they could really ask any questions and share any experiences. We wanted to enhance their knowledge of campus resources. That was really an orientation goal, just a broad orientation goal that we have. So I wanted to make sure that we continue that into the course during their first year. And lastly, we wanted to increase their connection with the Trojan family and with fellow students. Additionally, we want to make sure that this class was worthwhile for them. So beyond the actual class, we wanted them to be able to take that information and be successful in the classroom, in the workplace, in making American friends, and just in general adjusting to life in the U.S. and at USC. So about the course, these are the different topics that we actually talk about. You will see that the arrow helps, but you will see that it starts off very basic and kind of surface level. So we want to make sure it's safe for them when they first start. And then as we really start forming a bond with the cohort, we kind of go deeper and deeper. So you will see that diversity is one of the last issues that we formally discuss, and that needs to be at the end to make sure that they really do feel safe about all their opinions. How Americans View the World is actually a panel, which is probably the most fun panel you could ever participate in. So about the course. It is open to students who participate in international orientation. So it is non-registered, it is free, it is completely off the books other than my own Excel spreadsheet. So that's really the only official document that we have, which we will actually discuss later about if that is the most appropriate thing to have. So it is free because we don't think that students should actually have to pay for this information. It is unregistered because we don't really know what to do with the course right now. So it is held out of orientation programs, but we'll discuss later, should it be in an academic department like at NYU where it was housed in the School of Culture, Education, and Human Development. Our instructors are also volunteers. They are student affairs staff members, academic advisors, students in our PASA program, or just anybody else who kind of hears about it. So we have had a great array of instructors, and I do believe we have a couple in this presentation right now who will start instructing this semester. So we also have people who have come back year after year to do this. So it's great that people have really found a niche working with these students and kind of and being in a classroom setting, but in a more informal atmosphere. So it's been really great. So that's kind of a little bit about the class. In addition to these topics, we do always include 2 field trips. So we want to make sure that off campus, introducing them to life in Los Angeles, things that they could do without a car, because obviously many of them don't have cars, so how can you take public transportation somewhere? We also typically try to bring them to some type of restaurant. My personal favorite is Mexican because, well, it's my favorite, but also, but to explain Mexican food to someone who has never seen Mexican food is quite interesting. It's such a California cultural food, but to explain to someone what a burrito is. Well, it's beans inside a tortilla. What's a tortilla? Oh gosh, it's flour. So it's just interesting that they make you think about things that you have learned, you've known your whole life, and that you've taken for granted. So that's actually been one of my most favorite things about teaching the course, is just they're challenging my own knowledge of American culture. So the different ways that we have assessed this program. The first couple years we did the standard paper and pencil assessment. The last session, the last week of the semester, we would give it out to them and they would just fill it out. Yes, on a scale of 1 to 4, this is how I feel. Any suggestions? What did you really like? The very standard. One of the things that it had was What was your knowledge on this topic before the class? And now what is your knowledge on the topic after the class? So obviously it was good enough, but now that we have the invention of Qualtrics at our disposal, which I think you're going to hear a lot about Qualtrics today, we have moved it online. And so we do surveys now, and we've taken that question, what knowledge did you have before and what knowledge do you have now? And we've actually turned it into a pre-test and a post-test. So this year, before our first class, we emailed all the participants, and we asked them to grade their level of comfort based on all of these different scales. I'm actually going to show you the different topics that we asked them about. And then at the end of the semester, we sent out the same survey, and we asked them to now grade their comfort level on the same topics. So that's really the results that I'm going to share with you today, is how have they changed during the class. I wish I could say it's a direct result of the class, but obviously it's correlation. It's not, we don't know actually if it was causation, but essentially during their first semester at USC, there's a huge learning curve. So hopefully all of those things they will have improved upon already, but with their being in our class, hopefully it really raised up how much they did improve in those areas. I'm also going to talk about an instructor assessment that we did very briefly. I did ask all of our instructors, all 21 of them that we've had, to complete an assessment. And so I will show you kind of what they have gained from teaching the class. I'm not going to share with you a study for our alumni, but I do want to tell you briefly about it. We did send a survey out at the beginning of about a year ago to all the students who had ever taken our class, and just asked them a lot of the same questions that I'm going to show you. Essentially, their answers were very similar to the ones that I'm going to show you. So it was kind of good to know that at least we are staying consistent with the teachings of our students. All of our surveys had qualitative aspects and quantitative aspects, so I'm going to show those to you, some of my highlights. Any questions so far? All right. So like I said, never done assessment before. Hopefully you could read this. But these are the different topics that we asked in the assessment. So on the left you see our kind of statement. The second column is the pretest. So what were the percentages of our first assessment that we gave out at the beginning of the semester? The next column is how were they at the end of the semester, and then there's obviously the difference. I did not try to do anything fancy with the numbers, but you can at least see the mean and the improvement that we had. So first off, the level of comfort approaching American students. So as we heard in the last session, meeting American students is actually very critical to a student's adjustment to a new country. So while we know that they are never going to just leave all the students who are from their home country and go toward all the American students, but we do want them to meet American friends and to learn about American values and culture through them. So we wanted to measure if this class has helped that. So you can see that it actually has helped it a bit. So it did increase 0.52 on a 4.0 scale. I'm not going to read all of these to you, I promise. But I do want to show you that that was one of the main goals, is getting them more comfortable to meet with American students and make friends. Level of comfort approaching international students. This is another one. The more international students from other countries they meet, the more likely they are to adjust better to the US. So once again, the more they move from their comfort level to meet other people, the more they are going to learn about other cultures and be successful. So we also saw an increase there. This is one where I was really hoping to see a bigger increase, but hopefully we'll get there soon. Who do you spend most of your free time with? So of course, the first 3 weeks of their school, we know they're going to find people from their home countries, just like all of us probably would if we went to another country. So you can see that 88% of them spent most of their time with students from their home country during the first 3 weeks of the semester. It went down 5% by the end of the semester. So all right, some of them met some American friends, so that's good. We are making a difference. We know that this is not one of those things you could force on people, but hopefully the more we can kind of flip-flop those numbers, the more successful our students are going to be. All right, language. This is not one of our explicit goals in the session, in the class, but obviously this is one that they are going to improve upon by the nature of just being at USC, and hopefully by creating a place that is discussion-based and where they feel comfortable, they are more likely to talk. So you can see that the level of English conversation did go up by 0.36 on a 5-point scale. And then the level of English comprehension went up by 0.24. So this actually makes a lot of sense. The conversation piece is a lot more important in this class than the writing piece. And so, so we need to look at how can we kind of help them write a little more without being writing tutors. But also just how important is that conversation piece? Obviously it's helping them improve, so how can we increase that? Can we teach them better public speaking skills, more group work skills so they feel more comfortable talking to each other? So it's great that these are definitely going up. We could see a better improvement in the future, but I'm just very happy that they did go up in the first place. And if any of you, I'm sure many of you do work directly with international students, I do think an amazing thing is to see how much their English abilities improve just in a semester, or even a year after they've been here. It really is pretty amazing how quickly they do improve. Much better than I think I could ever do in any other country. All right, so now we're going to start talking about the class topics. So this actual ones, with the arrow, the ones that we discuss in the class. So we did measure it based on the week. So all the different weekly discussions, we did want to ask them if they've improved upon. So their level of comfort with U.S. basics. And we went up 0.57, so that's great. We also talked about comfort with U.S. history, values, and religion, and we also went up there. History of California, LA, and activities, they also went up there. So these are all very high numbers. The LA, and that's always a favorite because people always want to know what to do in LA. One of my favorite stories is that I had a student from Brazil, and she had a boyfriend he was like in Switzerland at the time or something. He came to California to visit her for a week for spring break. And she handed him our PowerPoint and said, pick what you want to do. I'll do anything in here, just let me know what you want. So people are really using our information as if it's the Bible, and they really stick to it. So it's kind of cool to see how important that they think our information is. And I think he had a good time in whatever they did. Okay. We also talked about U.S. politics, government, and law. So we also went up there. Any questions so far? I'm just breezing through these. Whew, we're good. Okay, more topics. American holidays. That went up. That's always kind of a fun topic to hear. Why do we have days off from school? They don't really know. Why are we celebrating certain days? And so pretty much we give them the history of the holiday, and then it ends up saying, actually, it's just a reason to have a party. So that's pretty much how our holidays work. So that's kind of fun to give them the religious history or the political history of that. Diversity issues. Obviously, that's one that we focus on. Like we heard in the last presentation, students come with very strong preconceived notions about what U.S. culture and diversity is. And I've been shocked quite a few times teaching this class to hear what their stereotypes are and really how important the media is that they watch. They really see it as if that is really the truth of how we are in the U.S. And so a lot of times we really need to break down what they're coming in with and let them know that it's okay to try to meet people outside of your race or your ethnicity, because that is what we do here, at least what we try to do here. So that's always one of the biggest ones. So it's great to see that we did see a good improvement there. We still have some people that are not comfortable with issues. Obviously, it's people that are comfortable within just a 3-month time span of being in a new country, but hopefully that's one that we can keep pushing up every year. Level of comfort with American values. This went up 0.34. We do want to go ahead and see some increased levels in that, so we need to go ahead and bulk up our own presentation on that and see if we can help them out a little better to understand that. Campus resources. I am so happy to see that this went up. This is actually one of the biggest improvements that we've seen since it is so important to orientation programs to introduce students to resources. I'm happy to see that they are learning about resources, and once we free them from this class, they are going to know where to turn. And they also know that they can always come back to the instructors with any questions, so they see the instructors as a huge resource for them throughout their time at USC. So our course objectives. I have a better understanding of the culture of the U.S. So obviously that was kind of the big broad idea that we wanted here, to make sure that they could succeed in order to, if they have a better understanding, they could succeed. So we did not include this in the pre-test because there was no real way for us to measure it in the beginning. Yeah, that's good. Thank you. So we just did the post-test. So I am so happy to see that 100% of them agreed either strongly or just agreed. So that was wonderful, that they do feel like they learned a whole lot from this class. I'm able to share my culture with classmates. This is actually a funny one because I should have told you that the majority of our students who participate in this class are Chinese. And so some of the classes are almost all Chinese. So for them to share their culture is just for them to talk to each other because they know their culture already. So that's always kind of a funny one. But for those classes who do have the people who are from other countries, and we definitely have had those other countries outside of China and even outside of Asia, it is so valuable to hear. We had, during the last semester, we taught the diversity course, and we had someone from Iran, and we were all talking about LGBT issues. And it was a really good discussion, and everybody was really learning about what is it like in the U.S., how far have we come, how far have we not come. And he ended up finally talking. He said, this is really difficult for me to talk about because I don't know how I feel, and it's a huge struggle, but in my country, if you are found out to be gay, you will be killed. And that was just like, whoa, for all of us. That was, whether you've heard that, you've read that or not, to hear someone say it was so striking. And so we do have those conversations, and it's really amazing to hear that some people, the intercultural boundaries that we have definitely been broken down, that we're able to discuss this. And he was able to actually question his own culture and his own government now that, he's away and he could actually openly talk about it. So anyways, lighter note. Knowledge of campus resources. All right, we are at a strong 98% on that. I'm happy with that. A greater connection to the Trojan family. So this is one that we definitely want to increase quite a bit. We know that our international graduate students really do kind of stick together, just like all different academic fields kind of stick together. So we want to try to get them involved outside of their little cohort within this class or their academic field. So how can we get them involved in more on-campus activities outside of their own departments? Hopefully that will help them feel more connected to the Trojan family. I have a greater connection to fellow students and alumni. Same thing, we want to get that up, hopefully through the same way. This is one I'm particularly proud of. I felt part of a community that allowed for sharing new experiences, discoveries, and questions not addressed elsewhere. We got 100% on that agree. So that makes me very proud to know that they felt comfortable, and whether or not they agreed with what we were teaching or they learned, they improved their English abilities, at least they felt comfortable to come and talk to us about anything that they needed to, and that they just had a place to go. So that's definitely reassuring to see those statistics. The learning outcomes we talked about. This class has helped me or will help me be successful in the classroom. So we definitely have some high numbers. I would, of course, like to improve those numbers. It makes me sad that 2%, which is probably one person, disagreed. But we do want to make sure that we make stronger connections. So when we're teaching someone about American holidays, I'm going to start having my instructor say, and this is how it affects you in the classroom. And then on the next one, it will help me be successful in the workplace. The same thing. We want to actually start doing some role play to help them move this information into the workplace so they are successful if they choose or get the opportunity to stay in the U.S. to work after graduation. Lastly, the information I learned in this helped me succeed in making American friends, like we talked about at the very beginning. So definitely better than I thought it would be, but we still want to get that a little better. So I think the way we're going to combat this one in the future is doing more role playing. So we give them all the tools. We give them the theoretical tools and the information, but we want to go ahead and take it a step further by saying, this is how you actually use this to make friends. You know all these slangs, you know how to start a conversation. Let's actually do some role playing right now to pretend to start a conversation with an American. What are things that they want to hear about? So I think we just need to take it a step further to kind of bolster all those numbers up. Some qualitative data. How has this class affected your experience as a USC international student? You can go ahead and read it. Essentially, it says it made me feel comfortable, and the information really helped me. So take a second.
Yeah, so the course at NYU was mandatory.
Correct.
But this is not mandatory.
Not mandatory at all, yeah. If it were mandatory, we would need a whole lot more instructors.
Yes.
Yeah. And currently in its form, this course does not resemble the NYU course at all. It was really just the starting point for us. All right.
How many international students who actually enroll to the class? How many percent?
That's a great question. With 6 sections this fall, we start off with and this is the biggest issue, we start off with about 120 students in the course, which means that they've registered and they probably come to the first class. And then we end up actually really finishing with about 60 to 70 students, so about a dozen people per class. I understand why. Essentially it's because they get busy and this is the last thing on their priority list. They don't realize how important this is for them. So if they have a midterm, they're not going to show up if they need to study. So some people just kind of, life gets in the way and they just stop coming. And so that's definitely one of the things I'm trying to improve upon this year is when I said we're no longer expanding, I want to try to get the retention up, way up. So out of about, 2,000 incoming students, we had about 120 participate in this class. And about 60 stick with it. So definitely low numbers. We don't advertise that hard for this class. We really try to keep it low because we don't have the resources. So we have, maybe this will impress you, but I should have said at the beginning, we have a $0 budget for this class. And it's something I'm actually really proud of, that we could sustain such a great program and affect so many students without any money. Pretty amazing, right? So thank you to all of those instructors who have volunteered their time for it. That's a huge money saver. But point being, if we expanded it, we would definitely start needing to get more resources. So until we're able to really expand it full throttle, we don't market it as hard as we could. Yes?
That's offer only in the fall.
No, we do offer it in the spring. So in the fall, we offer 5 or 6 courses. In the spring, we offer 1 because the students coming in, they're so small. All right, let's keep moving along. So now I'm going to talk about the data that we learned from our instructor assessment. So I did a call out this fall of all the people who have ever taught the course, whether it was just that fall or about 2 years ago. So we could see kind of their reflections on teaching this course. But 100% of them gained valuable experience in teaching in the classroom setting. Awesome, happy to see that. 80% improved their presentation and public speaking skills. I personally attribute the 20% to those who are already amazing presenters and didn't need any improvement. So I'm hoping that's where those came. Improved my organizational planning skills, same thing right there. So we did see a 70% increase, so that's really good too. The thing that I think, the 2 that I'm most proudest of is learn about the international student community at USC. And you can see that 100% of them did learn something, whether or not they've worked with international students before, this was their first time. They all were able to learn something because none of them had really worked with such a small cohort of students for an entire semester. I will serve as an advocate for international students, 100%. This is what our university needs, and I think obviously all of us, by coming here in the assessment committee, by putting on an international student assessment symposium, we are all advocates now, and so that is amazing, and the more advocates they have, the more likely they will be to succeed. So I was really particularly proud to see that number. I have helped the students succeed at USC and in the US, so another 100%. So that goes to me to see that the instructors have a high self-efficacy in what they are doing. They know that they are making a difference. So I'm really happy to see all of these numbers right here. Hopefully next year we're going to get them all at 100%, but right now I'm very, very satisfied with these numbers. Some qualitative data from the instructor assessment. How has it helped you develop professionally? Essentially, they talk about how they learned so much working with international students, how it was a new population for them and they were able to learn. All right. So now that you've seen all of my assessment results, let's go ahead and talk about some of the strengths and weaknesses that I've kind of deemed important enough to address right now. So what we're doing well, like I said, I'm very proud of this project, but I'm also very modest in knowing that it has a far way to go still. So what we're doing well, students are making great connections with other students and feeling comfortable sharing those. So the classes are becoming tight-knit and they're really comfortable with each other. So it's great that we are kind of forming a cohort of students. They have a good understanding of the weekly topics. So they are learning what we are teaching to them and they are understanding that is applicable to their life. They're familiar with campus resources. Once again, an orientation priority, so I'm very happy about that. They've gained valuable experience. The instructors have gained valuable experience, so that's another good one. Until this year, I never really started thinking about what is this doing for the instructor. So I was really glad that we were able to do an instructor assessment and actually see the tangible results, that it is helping the instructors. And not just those who are grad students, those who are professionals who have never actually taught in a classroom. It's been a great opportunity. Things we want to improve upon. We need to connect students more to American students, obviously. We need to really, if these things are not happening outside of the classroom, we need to facilitate them inside the classroom. 2 instructors this past spring actually did an American little program within the classroom. So we're thinking about expanding this, trying to bring more Americans into the classroom every week or so, getting them to meet outside of the classroom, but really having like almost a partnership between Americans and international students. And if we can't do that, we need to give them the tools to make those relationships on their own. So how can they feel confident enough to approach American students? And how can we teach American students really to approach international students? Thank you, Jennifer. Once again, give the students more opportunities to improve their English skills, whether that's writing or speaking. A lot of our classes are discussion-based, but a lot of people are shy, so we do more of the talking. So we want to try to provide more space for them to actually give presentations or just do more conversations. We want them to feel more connected to fellow students in the Trojan family. So once again, that goes to getting them involved outside of their own department and outside of our own cohort. Instructors need to make the obvious connections about how this will help them succeed in the classroom and in the workplace. So we're giving them the tools, but we need to make sure that they know they have the tools. So things we want to do in the future. Obviously, you can never have too much training for instructors, right? So we want to increase the training about all of the presentations, everything they might ever experience. We want to increase the training. We want to add more oral presentations for the students, whether that's formal or informal. We want to get them public speaking since it's such a huge part of American culture, American classroom culture. And then get them more involved in the campus. So whether that's us mandating that they go participate in one thing every week, however we do it, we need to get them more involved. Possibilities, actually having a budget. Like I said, I really am proud that we don't have a budget, but I am thinking about asking for a very, very small budget just so we could go ahead and take less of the responsibility off of the students. We are playing around with the idea of having it a registered class. We don't really know where it would fall or who would want it to fall under them, but we know that that would make it more official and it would increase retention right away. And then, like I said, having an American Buddy program. So that is all the information I have for you. We have a few more minutes for questions or comments. Who has any? Yes?
This is for grad and undergrad?
Correct. It's way more for grad. We have 5 sections for grad and 1 section for undergrad right now. The theory behind it is that the undergrads live in the residence halls. Their classes have way less international students, so they are more inundated with American culture than the graduates do. But yes, currently we offer it for both. Karen?
How did you determine which outings that you would go on?
That's a great question. Our syllabus, essentially how it works is we give them a syllabus at the beginning of the semester, and they change it however they want. So if they want to go to this field trip or not talk about this topic and talk about another one, we'll definitely accommodate them. So usually the field trips are a brainstorm on their part. Yeah.
Is it just University Park campus, or do you guys advertise the house?
Yeah, great question. Currently it's a University Park campus. That would be another expansion if we go over there. I've kind of thrown out the idea, and I've been told that students are just too focused over there, too involved to really have the time to commit to this. So we haven't pulled that trigger yet, but it's definitely a consideration. Yes?
Yeah.
There are definitely a lot of possibilities once we offer it as a credit course. There are also a lot of things that scare me about doing that. But it's definitely one of the bigger ideas that we're playing around with. Yeah, thank you. Josh?
Yeah, the main issue that comes up, I think, would be fee when we talk about being a credit
Yeah.
course. So
Right.
here's the 0 credit course from NYU. Was that free
It was free.
for those students?
Yep.
But there was a budget from the school that it was housed in. Or no?
You
Was that
know,
also
they might have
free?
been free. I didn't get paid as an instructor, and I didn't really use any of their money, so it actually might be a $0 budget.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's still mandatory. That's
it is
really
mandatory. Yep, yep. And that's something
You
that,
would be the key,
yeah,
you
Russ and I have talked about that for Marshall, and I think it sounds like a great thing, and I think that would definitely help a lot of the problems. philosophically, we want our students involved in the greater university.
Right.
So I kind of have a hard,
Mixed
me
feelings,
personally, I have a harder time, saying, go get involved in the rest of the community, but let's do one more thing within our own field. So, yeah, it's kind of like either or, And the interesting thing is that I will admit that our undergraduate course this year, I think, was just scheduled at a bad time, but we only had about 10 students interested in it out of all the incoming international undergraduate students, whereas with the grads, we have about 200 students who are interested in it. So we were definitely disappointed in the numbers, and we'll see if they go up this year. Hopefully we'll choose a better time, and that'll
Oh,
be
I'm
solid.
happy to brainwash them.
Let's work together then.
I'm the one that admits them, so if I
I
tell
like
them
it.
to take this, they'll do it.
Let's do our last question over here.
Oh, it's not really a question, it's a comment. It may be that the graduate students are more aware of it than the undergraduate.
You know what, it could be, we actually advertised the same way to both of them, so, I don't know, I don't know what it is, so we'll see if it changes this year.
So how do you advertise them this class?
We really, so like I said, we kind of keep it on the down low a little bit because of our lack of resources, but we talk about it at orientation, so our orientation advisors talk to them in a small group about what we offer, and then we send out an email after the orientation saying sign up right here. And so, a lot of people click on it and look at it, but a good amount of the grads do actually, register for it. So that's all the time I have. I'm definitely going to stick around outside if any of you want to chat about it. I do have my business card up here if you want to contact me later, but thank you so much for coming over.